Clay Pelham is a man who has shown tremendous resiliency and fortitude and doing what you have to do as a coach, which is go through the tough times to get to the good times. It's a great story, and I'm glad you're able to come in tonight.
Thank you.
By the way, Kathy Bonsteel's here, too. Hi, Kathy.
There. Hi, Andy. Always here to talk about our kids.
Kathy, why don't you, before I get into my questions for Coach, why don't you talk about bringing in Coach Pelham and what he's brought to the program?
Well, Clay initially came on board with Joshua Lindeman. He was our coach a few years ago, came in on his staff. And then when Joshua left, he was the perfect person to be in the position. Clay's done a great job. This is his second year. We struggled a little bit last year, but he kept the faith. The boys kept the faith, and with his leadership, they're having a great job right now.
They are. They've won their last 6 games. Jonesville has qualified for the playoffs for the first time in 10 years. And, Coach, let's go back to Onsted. You played high school ball at Onsted, is that right?
Yes, I did, yes.
And then the unbelievable, you did the unbelievable move and you went to Hudson. Now, that's a rival of Onsted. How did it happen that you ended up at Hudson?
In the offseason of 1995, Tim Beckler was the head coach at Hudson at the time, and he was one of my assistant coaches when I was playing at Onsted. So we had a little talk in January or February one of those years, and he talked me into coming down there, and it's been history ever since. It was a great move on my part. Got to be part of a varsity staff after being on a JV staff at Onsted, and got to learn from one of the greatest coaches in the state history, Tim Beckler. So. Were
you still over at Hudson when they won the state championship a couple years ago, or had you moved on by that time?
I had moved on by then, yes.
Yeah. So Coach Luma has had incredible success. And talking about your style of football, full house wing tee for the most part, what Hudson's been running forever, but you have your own twist on it too.
Yeah, we just do certain little things differently. We put in more play-action pass. I know Chris has put in more as the years have gone on, but it's basically the Tim Beckler school of football. He still does it at Canton, and Chris and I have both taken it from him. We're kind of his disciples, I guess, of the wing tee.
How was the wing tee received at Jonesville High School when you first brought it in?
I don't think people cared for it much. In most schools, especially nowadays, everybody sees the NFL in college, and everybody spreads it out and throws it all over the place, and people want to see that. But especially when you fail and you're not doing so well at it, you hear the chirping and whatnot, throw the ball, do this, do that. But the kids bought into it, the kids believed in it, and it started to show the second week when we had a exciting game against Springport, and then we didn't do so well against Reading, but the kids have shown tremendous confidence ever since.
From a football philosophy standpoint, why the full house wing tee? I mean, obviously there are advantages and disadvantages to every offense under the sun. What are the strengths of that scheme, and why do you stick with it?
The wing tee, you can have a down year in talent and still be competitive. Mm-hmm. I think that's the biggest thing. Where if you run a spread and you don't have the talent, it's hard. If you don't have a quarterback, you can't run the spread. Right. You can run different versions of it where you may have a better running quarterback or whatever in the spread, and you can run more and run the option. But with the tee, you can still have that lack of talent and still compete. You can play harder than most teams, and it's very hard to prepare for if you're in opposition. They have to, I feel bad for the Concords of the world who don't have many kids, because I know they can't duplicate what we do offensively. And
even if they had enough kids, you can't get a look at practice. No. They're not going to execute it in practice like you guys do on Friday nights.
Exactly. It's hard. We do it 6 months out of the year, and we're still not perfect at it every night, and we get frustrated. But I can't imagine having to stop it. It's easier for us when we see it. We saw Quincy had it this mm-hmm. year. When you run the tee, you see it every day, so it's a little easier to stop. But yeah, it's a hard offense to prepare for.
Clay Pelham's the head football coach at Jonesville in his second year. The first year, it was rough. You go 1-8. You beat Athens 15-13, and struggled pretty much the rest of the way, despite losing a couple of close games along the way. How tough was that first year with the 1-8 season and all of the expectations at Jonesville?
Oh, extremely difficult. I was looking for tall buildings at certain points, and there isn't many around the area, but everybody kept the faith. We were really young last year. I have great support at home, great coaching staff. Kathy supports us all the way, and that's all it is. When you got support, you can turn things around, and that's what we've done.
The expectations at Jonesville are reasonably high. The enrollment's up. You guys have a tremendous athletic heritage there, and yet the last few years in football have been tough. How did you help Coach Pelham just kind of hold on through those tough times last year?
Well, Clay and I talk a lot. A lot of people don't know that, probably more than what he wants to. because I'm a talker anyway. But just, giving them a pat on the back, and keeping the boys up, doing the best I can to keep things running normal. Try to give him everything that he needs. Try to get him help that he needs to be able to prepare and do what we've done so far. And he's done a great job with it. Well,
you get into this year, you got Britton Deerfield, which, by the way, is a really tough team. Your first game of the year. BD, I'm really interested to see how that's going to go down with Reading Friday night. I think that's a great first-round game, as a matter of fact. But you lose 40-0. You're quoted in the paper as saying, we may have to reinvent ourselves a little bit. What did you mean by that comment coming off the loss to Britton Deerfield?
Just maybe a little bit of soul-searching is what it took. Offensively, we knew what we had to do, and we weren't going to veer from that. And it was probably more defensively. And basically, that's what we did. We kind of reinvented ourselves, decided to do some things differently defensively, and instill more physicality, I guess, if that's a word, with our defense. Just become tougher kids, tougher to prepare for. But we also simplified things and made it easier for the kids. They make a lot of the adjustments on the field for us, which makes them smarter football players too. So.
You get into the second week of the year, August 31st, Springport. 52-51. I got back from the Camden game at home, and I was following the scores. People were sending me scores, and it was fun, even though I couldn't see the game, to follow it. What a ball game, and what a win for your guys.
It should have never been that close. We were up 52-29 with about 9 minutes to go, and we took it easy. And I told the coaches afterwards, I got to quit being nice. And we've decided not to be. You let a team hang around, you give them a little bit of confidence, and all of a sudden you start to disappear. And then all of a sudden it's 52-51, and Springport's going for two to put them in the lead. And Tyler Bogner made an incredible play, and we survived.
So when you say, just so everybody understands, when you say you need to stop being nice, that is when you have a lead at the end, but it's not. You haven't totally shut them down at that point. You've got to keep scoring the football until the end of the game.
Yeah, you got to keep going. It's like telling our kids not to play.
Right.
We're not going to tell our kids not to keep playing.
Right.
We need to keep doing that as a coaching staff, and you can see the scores from there on out after Reading. We did that. We finished games is basically what it is.
The Reading game was a lot of hype, and it always is. It always will be. That's a great county rivalry ball game. They got you 38-7, but everybody I've talked to at that game said that it wasn't a blowout. That you guys actually, despite the score, were in that game, especially early on. Did you feel that way?
Defensively, in the first half, we played really well. We did pretty much what we wanted to do and what we came in to prepare for. But offensively, we struggled again, and it was just simple things again that. One or two guys not doing their job every play, and that's one of the things we talked about after that week is all 11 guys have to do their job. One guy doesn't do their job, and you fail.
Since that Reading game on September 7th, I'm going to go through this, okay? I'm sure it won't bother you to hear these scores one more time. Quincy was a 27-7 win. You beat Concord 34-6. Homer, you beat 56-7. Union City, probably the signature win on your schedule so far, 58-27. You beat Athens 57-13. You beat Vandercook Lake in a pretty decent ball game, 47-27. 6 straight wins. How is the atmosphere at your school, among the players, the confidence? How has that all changed in the last 6 weeks?
It's amazing, and you can see that in the scores. I would almost hate to play Quincy because I get along with those guys, but we'd beat them a lot worse. But you can see the confidence building a little more every week, and it's as simple as that. Everybody keeps asking us what the magic formula is. It's just confidence and seeing that success happen in front of them, and then you just take it week to week. And we decided and dedicated every week was a playoff game. We had to if we were going to succeed, and the kids have played like it's do or die every week.
I want to get into the heads of your players a little bit because here you are 1-2. You just lose to Reading. You were 1-8 the year before. There had to be some belief, despite all of the losing, that you could go on a 6-game winning streak. And of course, it started one game at a time. You had to beat Quincy first. But that's tough to do. It's tough to reverse that momentum in the middle of the season. Was there anything you can point a finger at that changed, that got it going in the right direction for the Jonesville Comets?
I think it all fell into line. Playing Quincy the next week and playing a team that ran basically the same offense we do, and taking some pride in punishing the team for starting to run the same offense we do in conference. You don't see that very often where a school will come in and there'll be 2 T teams in a conference. And the kids took it upon themselves, both offensively and defensively, to show them how the T was run and how the T was going to be stopped. And I think that right there is where it all started. And again, confidence just blew right up after that.
The only other regular season game I really want to hit on is that Union City game. They have one of the top running backs anywhere. He is highly discussed as being a potential college athlete and all the rest of it. A lot of interest in that game, and you come out of there with a nice 58-27 win. Take us back to the Union City night and how you were able to get that done.
Our goal every week is to keep the ball away from them, and it showed. When they had the ball, they scored. I think we only stopped them twice offensively, but our job as an offense is to keep the ball away from them. And we knew going into every week, we know that most teams can't stop us. We'll stop ourselves. And we knew going into Union City, again, confidence was sky high that regardless of what Union City did defensively, they wouldn't be able to stop us. And they didn't. And we kept the ball away from them. You know, you keep the ball away from Josh Holton, you're going to beat Union City, and that's what we did.
You guys did something this year, and Kathy, you can jump in on this as well. That's one of the neater things I've ever seen in a high school game, which was to wear the pink jerseys for breast cancer awareness. You got some statewide recognition from Fox Sports Detroit and all the rest of it. Coach Paxi was involved in that as well, bringing that kind of concept to you. How did that all come together? How did that go that night with the pink jerseys?
Well, actually, it started, me hearing about something like that started a year ago. My son teaches up, as you know, Chris teaches up at Leslie, and they do that. They do something similar to what we've picked up and done. And so I brought it back, had talked with Clay a little bit about it. Colin Ettinger was just so excited about wanting to do it. He wanted to have a pink game forever. And then we came back, and like I said, Coach and I talked about it. He thought it would be a great thing. And then we talked to the seniors, because the only game that we could really do it would be senior night. So we talked with them to make sure that they wanted to give up their colors that night and do it. And they were so excited to do it. And then once they heard about the concept that they would be playing for someone specifically that's battling cancer, it didn't have to be breast cancer, then they just took it and ran with it. And I guess looking at the boys and the coaching staff, it really picked them up, but also made them learn about giving back and paying it forward to their community. And I'm so proud of them. I mean, they've done amazing with it. They were proud of the game. They weren't wearing pink just to wear pink. There was a meaning behind it.
Awesome.
Then when we found out about Julian, Coach told me about him when we brought him on staff. And a lot of the boys, when we initially started it, had no idea about Coach Paxi. And then, you know, he became involved, and it was just amazing. The parents came on board, the community, which was the biggest thing, came on board, and their support now of the boys is just amazing. And it really brings the whole thing into works. But like I said, if it wasn't for Coach and his staff and the kids, we could have never gotten it done.
Well, I need to talk to Coach Paxi, because this is an incredibly inspirational story. He was a senior defensive lineman at Albion College, and he was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer, and the only cure for it was a liver transplant. He decided to play his senior year of football before being put on that transplant list.
Yep.
He stuck with the game of football, and to have him around your kids has got to be special.
Yeah. And I know Coach can attest to this too. He's a great role model for the kids, but he's great with the kids. Mm-hmm. He's great with them as far as the coaching staff, but you know, you couldn't ask for a better person to be a role model for our kids and for Clay to have on his staff. You know, it rounds out the mix and makes it really well.
How's he doing?
He's last time I asked him about it, because I don't really like to ask, he told me that he doesn't have to go back for 6 months, if I'm right. So that's a good thing.
Right.
And we enjoy having him. So we don't want anything to happen to him either. And his relationship with the boys is amazing, and with the staff.
Jonesville Athletic Director Kathy Bonsteel and head football coach Clay Pelham. Last couple things, and I'll let you get out of here. There was a ton of speculation when you qualified for the playoffs that it would be the Hillsdale Hornets, Hillsdale versus Jonesville in the first game. I know you're not concerned about a game that isn't going to happen, at least not this week. But when that that night came for the draw, how did you watch the selection show, and did you think you were probably going to play the Hornets before that show came on?
Well, we got together at Olivia's and had a team dinner. It's very special the last week of the year. They always give us prime rib and whatnot. And we decided to do it after we knew we were going to qualify. We had it at Olivia's, and then after the dinner, parents, community, the JV call-ups could all come in. We watched it on the big screen, and we had gotten to the point where we thought it had moved from Hillsdale to Michigan Center. And we thought, okay, we're just going to go to Michigan Center, because all along it was going to be Hillsdale. And then when Bronson qualified for the playoffs, we thought, sure, okay, this is Michigan Center will be the fourth team in our bracket. And then when we saw Blissfield on the screen and getting a home game, I think I was a little speechless and shocked at the time, because we never expected to host a game. But we're going to roll with it. I mean,
we're ready.
There's nothing better than hosting a playoff.
What was the reaction when they announced Jonesville hosting?
It was loud. Couldn't hear much. Nobody heard anything else on the TV, and it was pretty amazing. It was fun to be a part of that.
Especially, I think, for the folks that had been around the program for a while, even knowing where you've been and what it's taken, even from last year, to get to where you are now, not having been to the playoffs for a decade, the 1-8 season a year ago. Now fully having it turned around and pointed in the right direction, securely in the playoffs. You didn't even make it close. A lot of 5 and 4 teams got in this year.
Right.
You guys went 7-2. You earned a home game. You get to host Blissfield. Before I let you go, I know you're not going to give your whole game plan away on the radio, but what about Blissfield? What have you found on film from them? What can fans expect in the game coming up on Friday?
They're typical Blissfield. If anybody's ever seen them play before, we've had a history with them, and the final game of the regular season for 4 years before last year. But they're big and physical. Blissfield's been big and physical. They're not overly athletic, which kind of works in our favor, but they're got kind of a mirror image of us. They don't run what we do, but they love to run the ball. And they're just big kids, and they're big, strong kids. But I think it's a good matchup for us. It's a good competition matchup, if I can say that. It's two teams that should slug it out, and it's supposed to be rainy again on Friday, and that probably works in both our favors. Normally, every night that works in our favor, but we both want to keep going.
Has there been a Friday night that hasn't been rainy?
I think if we counted, there was 6 of them.
I mean, it's just been unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's been unbelievable.
We had no rain this summer, and that's all we had in the fall.
Before I let you go, one last thing. I know you're not going to be able to name the entire roster tonight, but a couple of the guys that sort of symbolize maybe the turnaround, who you think were key to helping you turn it around. You got to have players, obviously. Who are a few of those guys, and I know you can't name them all, but a few of them that have helped turn this around at Jonesville?
Brandon Jenkins, 4-year varsity player and one of our co-captains. He's the one that when we start to slack off in practice, Brandon speaks up. He doesn't let the kids get down. He's the motivational speaker. When it needs to be a butt chewing, he's the one that gives it. We've also got a ton of juniors, and we got 2 junior captains, which is odd. You don't see that very often. And Kyle Jones, our quarterback, and Cody Barnett, who plays linebacker and offensive tackle, and they're great leaders as well. I mean, right now we've got 42 kids up with the JV kids, but we've got a ton of kids who just won't be denied right now, and you don't want to see the season end, and we're going to fight like the Dickens tonight, Friday night.
I'm so glad you're able to come in. I know you're really busy. Coach Pelham, thank you for making the time. Best of luck Friday against Blissfield. And Coach Kathy, thank you so much for coming back and hanging out with us a little bit.
I love to, anytime we can promote our kids and promote our programs over at Jonesville, we'll be here. Love to have it.
7 o'clock?
7 o'clock
Friday
start.
night.
Friday night.
Jonesville High School.
You bet. We'll
Jonesville,
be rocking.
Blissfield. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.